At 17 minutes past 9, though, it's time for us to turn our attention to the GA depth charts, and I'm delighted to say Enda Varley is with us to talk to us about the Mayo depth chart. Enda, good morning to you. How are you?
Sure, how's the form?
Good. Now, unfortunately, we did this. We hadn't planned to do Mayo today in the aftermath of what looks like, unfortunately, a relatively serious injury. Tommy Conroy went down in a Sigerson game last night and was still on the field at half time being treated for a knee injury. I don't know if you've heard anything, but certainly there are concerns about him and how quickly he might be back.
Yeah, look, I heard it last night. I saw it on Twitter last night. I haven't heard anything since about it. Obviously, look, they probably won't know themselves until he'll get a scan probably today or tomorrow, and then the news will be released after that, I suppose.
It's obviously the second game he played in 48 hours. He was playing in Markovitz on Sunday. Not great conditions there.
Yeah, two heavy pitches, Jar. Like this time of year, like it's different. Like I was just even thinking about that this morning. Like 48 hours. I know he's obviously young. He's probably 21 years of age. Like, but still, two very intense games in the space of 48 hours. It's not. They're on about player welfare there now. It's not exactly a great look for the GA. But anyways.
Well, I mean, it comes hot on the heels of the situation in Kerry where they were playing two games in the same day. Like, someone needs to come in, put their hand up, and say, "What are we doing here? Like, what do we want?"
Well, look, I suppose everyone's obviously Sigerson. It'll be run off this month now, and it's hot and heavy, as you said there. Like, so it's just, what do you do? I suppose, look, James is trying to get the best team out. Division 1 is so competitive. Jack O'Connor's doing the same thing. You saw 3 draws at the weekend and at Dublin, so it's obviously very, very tight. Like, so to answer your question, I don't know, Jar. What do you do? Like, the month of January is it's very, very tough on the players, especially the college players.
Yeah. Look, Tommy obviously had grown into a leadership role and was somebody I think that they were investing a lot of time and effort in as like part of that new generation. There's a new captain. Oisin Mullen is coming back. I think Cora Staunton floated the notion that Tommy Conroy and Oisin Mullen are best mates, and when Tommy was made vice captain, that was a stroke of genius from James Horan. Just said, come on, just one more, come on, let's why wouldn't you? So look, he obviously is hugely important, and we saw he kind of came of age in the All-Ireland final last year in the second half as well, that's what he has. Like,
well, he's a line breaker. Like, he's any defender that's on him, any cornerback, even against Donegal there on Sunday, like, Jason Dock got 2 points off Tommy Conroy's hard work. Like, he beats the first man all the time, and once you beat the first man, you're creating those overlaps straight away. Like, so he's just sheer pace. He's very exciting to watch. Like,
if he's not available for a sustained period of time, what difference will that make to Mayo?
It will make a huge difference, but James always had the mentality of next man up, and you even saw it last year against Dublin in the semi-final. Oisin was out with a quad injury last year in the semi-final, and we saw how that result turned out in the end. Like, so, we're on about the depth chart here. Like, I found it very hard actually with Tommy to go through it, and there's definitely in the forward section anyway. There's definitely 7-8 guys there that can obviously come in and do a job for them. Yeah,
and it's funny, like in when Mayo were going toe to toe with the great Dublin team, we were always constantly talking about the forwards. Some of them were reconstituted defenders. Some of their best attacking play was coming off the defenders, breaking forward. Now it seems like you actually do genuinely have real strength and depth and competition for places.
Yeah, as I said, like there's 6 or 7, like Jason Dock's obviously come back into the fold. He was a 2-year absent there with a cruciate. He'd done the 2 cruciates actually. So his mentality, the hard work that he's put in over the last 2 years, I'd like to see him to make a run this year. Then you have Darren Cohen is another guy that very good club form. You have the likes of Paul Tarry, Brian Walsh. Like, there's a lot of guys there that are going to be pushing for places. So yeah, there's no way, 2 ways about it. Like, Tommy's going to be a huge loss either way. Like, so it's it's just another option that's going to be gone.
We have your attack depth chart up here. So the starters: Kevin Mack at 10, Ryan O'Donoghue at 11, Diarmuid O'Connor at 12, 13 is Tommy Conroy, 14 is Aidan O'Shea, and 15 is Cillian O'Connor. So we expect Cillian back sooner rather than later. You've got Aidan O'Shea at 14. Is this in any way controversial at the moment around Mayo, or is everybody actually slightly rushing to usher Aidan O'Shea off a starting role a bit too early in your view?
It was like playing fantasy manager here. It's a bit artificial in the first of February doing the team out for this time of year. But anyways, look at Aidan will have his critics. He's still a very good ball winner inside. It's the, as in, it's obviously the 1st of February or 2nd of February now. The boys will start rolling now, see who's in form, who's going well in training. The league campaign coming up here, like it's all, lads will put their hands up throughout the next couple of months, and James will go off that. Like, but with Aidan, I still think he offers too much not to start him. I think the critics have probably got inside his head a small bit too much. You think back to his earlier part of his career, he was a scorer. Like, he'd get 2 or 3 points a game, and that scoring ratio has come down a bit. And I just think, he used to be a free taker back in his earlier days. Like, so he's a very good striker of the ball. It's just, I think he's lacking in confidence, and that comes with huge. He's taken huge criticism over the last year. So I'd like him to kind of, I don't know, block out the noise and just get on with the job and just kind of go tunnel vision here for the next year or the next few months and try and get the best out of himself, because there's no doubt he has the talent to do that.
I think the conversation around Aidan O'Shea is bananas. Like, so Daniel Flynn played full forward for Kildare at the weekend and didn't score, created a lot of chances, and the narrative afterwards was, real mature from Daniel Flynn. This is a sensation. Look at him bringing other players into the game. If the same game had been played by Aidan O'Shea, those same commentators would be like, Aidan O'Shea's doing nothing anymore. Why is he not taking players on? It's just, you can't win for doing right when it comes to somebody like Aidan O'Shea. And you're right, it looks like he's got the yips from the frees that he misses in front of the goals. But, like, that's all fixable. Yeah. He is still a sensational asset to have. And I think Mayo will be ridiculous not to be planning for the year for him to start.
Well, look, this is down to Aidan. Like, as in, he has to, I suppose, if he's in the full forward line, he has to be probably chipping in 2 or 3 scores a game and getting those marks, and as in get those marks, like as in putting those frees over. Like, it's, I suppose the mark is kind of it's different in terms of the other forwards who aren't free takers. It's probably more nerve-wracking because they're not used to that kind of setup. From play, it's the split second. You don't even think about it. But when you have the mark, it's, that's 2-3 seconds. You kind of slightly doubt yourself maybe for a couple of seconds. Like, so, I'd like to see Aidan. Just to get his confidence back and kind of block out the critics, because everyone will tell you that he's just a very, very good talent. I just hope he's we see that this year.
Yeah, there's no denying Enda. He's a massive talent, and he's huge for Mayo. But I was sort of thinking about how they play and how the difference off the bench for Mayo, it needs to be more, like, it needs to have more of an impact this year, I feel. And if you finish with Aidan on the pitch, is that not more of a benefit than him starting and having to come off?
Well, it depends what kind of game you're playing. Like, Mayo are playing a running game at the moment, so it's. I'd like to see Mayo. You see the kind of Paddy Irk and the Oisin Mullins, the Enda Hessians, the Owen McLaughlins. Their first instinct is to take a solo. I'd like to see that kind of mentality or attitude change, as in, right, first time you get the ball, right, is there a kick pass on here? No, all right, I can take a solo then. But as I played inside forward myself, so if you're an inside forward and you're looking and that guy's going to take a solo, his first instinct to take a solo and run with the ball, well, then it kind of throws the inside forward line off here. So it's kind of getting that everyone being on the same page, as in, I'd like to see Mayo move the ball a lot quicker. Like, they're running the ball an awful lot, and you saw that in the All-Ireland final last year where Tyrone, they get obviously men back very, very quickly, and that running game suited Tyrone, and it obviously didn't suit Mayo.
Yeah, I suppose that's the point of these league campaigns, is to establish exactly what the pattern of play is going to be this year and how everybody fits into it. Let's talk about Cillian O'Connor and Jason Doherty then, because if Conroy is a loss, and again, we don't know how bad the injury is, hopefully it's just a sprain, but if those two are coming back, that's massive. And if they're coming back at the level that we think they can come back at, then that's an incredible addition to the team.
Look, Cillian obviously leading all-time leading scoring forward in GA. Like, so he's look, I don't have to talk about Killian here. Everyone knows about him. He's. I thought last year is actually having his best year for, I'd say, probably 2014. I remember he was absolutely flying in 2014. And last year he was up to that par again. Like, so, look, he's coming back off a serious injury. I hope he'll be back sometime in the next couple of months. Look, he's one of their leaders in the forward line. If Mayo ever need a score or need to settle things down, Killian will always get you, a score from free or a score. He's just very, very. He's still only. I suppose he's 29 now, but he's been mature beyond his years. Since he was 21 years of age. Like, he's been an unbelievable servant for Mayo, and he's just, if he comes back, it'd be a major, major plus for them. So. Even his tackling as well. He's probably one of the best forwards in the game for tackling. So even that aspect of his game, Mayo will definitely benefit from.
And what about Doherty?
Oh, Jason. Again, Jesus, mentality to come back after 2 years. Like, he done one cruciate 2 years ago, and then he'd done the second one last year. So that sheer mentality, hard work, graft. Like, I was delighted to see him. Scored 3 points the last day. Again, Jason, and this is the good thing for James. Like, he has options. And Jason can play wing forward. He can play on the inside line. So the forwards are interchangeable. So it's definitely, look, he's another option for James, and especially if Tommy is out now for a few months, he's definitely going to be needed.
Is there one bench player from those forwards who you think is ready to step up and come into the team?
Well, from the six I've picked, I suppose Jason would be definitely the kind of go-to guy there. Darren Cohn is definitely another guy that could definitely do a job in the full forward line. Who else have I in the replacements there? Sure, I can't see the screen.
Stick it up for us there. I'll read them out to you. So you've got Darren Cohn, Fionn McDonough, Jason Doherty, Fergal Boland, Darren McHale, James Carr, Aidan Orme, and Brian Walsh. A lot of hype around Aidan last year.
Aidan Orme.
Yeah,
he's a good player. Obviously, Knockmore plays for Knockmore in the full forward line, or kind of drifts out a bit with Knockmore. Obviously, county champions this year. Yeah, I'd like to see a bit more, obviously league game time for him and see how he gets on there, because he's physically a very, very strong player. He's probably about 6 foot. Good jets, good gas to him, good pace. So he's a left footer as well. So yeah, I'd like to see him get more game time. He probably the full forward line. You probably have Brian Walsh for the half forward line. Jason Doherty's interchangeable between the half forward and full forward line. Then you have Darren Cohn probably for the full forward line. So look, there's loads of options there. There's actually more options in the forward lines than the backs. I actually found it hard to get 6 replacements for the backs.
Okay, well, let's move on to the defence, because that's a good segue for us here. So Oisin Mullen at 2, Brendan Harrison at 3, Enda Hession at 4, Lee Keegan at 5, Stephen Cohen at 6, Paddy Durkin at 7. Your backups are Owen O'Donoghue, Owen McLaughlin, Michael Plunkett, Pádraig O'Hora, Donnacha McHugh and Rory Brickenden. I think the first thing people are going to notice, obviously, is Lee Keegan back in the half-back line and Pádraig O'Hora on the bench. There's a bit of strength and depth here.
There again, like, it's not, there's no right answer here. It's I suppose I went to it, like, I saw, like, Stephen Cohen started full back against, he had number 3 on his back against Donegal. I think Mayo, one thing James has to sort out in this league is getting his full back and centre back sorted here, because they're obviously the spine of the team is very, very important. So I'd like to see Brendan Harrison get a bit more game time in the full back. I'd like to see Stephen Cohen, obviously captain this year. I'd like to see him get a settled position, because obviously the roles between, he's been wing back, he's full back and centre back. The roles are completely different between those 3 positions. So I'd like to see, especially for the league, like, to get some clarity, or some for the defence to have some understanding in the roles they're playing, especially with 6 and 3, especially 6, because obviously 6 plays a pivotal role between holding the middle, covering your full back line, communication, all that comes into play here. So you need a really good leader there, and Stephen hopefully will be that man.
Can I just ask you a bit about that? Because listening to Paddy Andrews on the football pod, he talks about they know whenever they're going up against Mayo that it's chaos, it's man on man, and it's going to be end-to-end stuff mostly. Now, that wasn't always the case. You know, there's certainly at the end of games it was. At the start of games, there was a lot of kind of claustrophobia and tension.
Yeah.
What is Mayo's definitive style of play when it comes to defending?
When it comes to defending, it's getting this what I like to see, Ger. Like I'm seeing like Tommy Conroy, like Ryan O'Donoghue. It's just literally people getting as many tackles in as possible. If they're drifting back with the play and working as hard as they can, like that's James's mantra. It doesn't matter if you're in the full forward line, you're tracking that man. If that man is going 50, 60 yards, you're tracking him. So they're on about the chaos. Like I'd like to see more structure in Mayo, to be honest. This year, I'd like to see, I suppose, the structure in terms of, as I said there, as in the centre back covering their half back line. I don't like to see the full forward line getting sucked back as deep, if I'm being honest with you, because obviously, Mayo are playing a bit of a counter-attacking game. They're playing a running game, and again, as I said to you, that will work for some teams, but there has to be a plan B for Mayo, and they have to, I suppose, again, harken back to the All-Ireland final. Like, they had 2 weeks to prepare, obviously, from the Dublin game for the All-Ireland, they had 3 weeks, but Tyrone obviously played the week after, so they only knew 2 weeks out that they had Tyrone. So their game all year wasn't suited to playing Tyrone, really, because obviously they're playing that running game, like so. They have to be able to adjust and obviously adjust to the team they're playing with, and it's not one way will work for all. They have to be able to change with the team. They have to be able to change by the opposition they're playing.
Yeah, and is the personnel there in that group of defenders they have at the moment to be able to deal with it? So if you think back to the goals that they conceded in the second half in the All-Ireland final, like. It's one of them is Route 1, like it's the definition of Route 1, and in a way it must be as galling for Mayo fans to sit and watch that and think, oh Jesus, because it's different, but there's a bang of the goal that Michael Murphy scored in the All-Ireland final off that, where it's like, this is very straightforward. The opposition, one's a diagonal ball, one's a tapped on kick. Now granted, the execution is at insane levels, like all-time great levels in an All-Ireland final to be able to pull it off. But it was fairly rudimentary defending that would have stopped both of those if you knew that it was coming. Are the personnel there, or is it just not the defensive instincts that are missing from Mayo?
I think it's the defensive instincts, George, to be quite honest with you. I think, like, if you look for the 6 defenders Mayo have, athletically and physically, like, they have all the attributes to be, they're really, really good defenders, like, so. It's just, again, working as a collective, as a unit of 6 or a unit of 8 with the 2 midfielders, like, as in trying to, like, I'm not sure who was with McShane's goal. You said the ball in. I'm not sure who. I think it was Oisin Mullen who was on him. Like, I suppose if Robbie didn't come out, McShane would have caught that ball. If McShane caught that ball, Oisin would have came around, and he would have been, obviously Oisin is between McShane and the goal. So I think probably for that goal, Robbie should have stayed on his line, and McShane wouldn't have punched that ball in. Do you know what I mean? McShane would have been forced to catch that ball when it came in that time. And
to be honest, it was actually the other goal that I was thinking of, and it reminded me of Dublin Donegal, when Donegal were actually just able to push the ball over the midfield, and Ryan McHugh was running on, and they did that. And it's like, it's not the same goal, but it's not a million miles away. And Dublin went off and completely reconstituted their defence. The sweeper comes in, and they never ever get caught like that again. They're going to grind you out. There's no more chaos. That's the end of the chaos from a Dublin perspective.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Again, that's why I'm saying about Stephen Cohen at 6, or who, if James has a guy in mind at centre back, like Keane O'Sullivan played that pivotal role for Dublin for 5-6 years since Ger Brennan stepped away, and Ger obviously played it before that, like, so you need that, obviously, that communication between your 6 and the full back line. I know, as an inside guy, if my marker, if I'm at 13 and my marker is covering the wing side, and 6 is covering that inside channel, that the centre basically, well, I'm finding it very difficult to win any primary ball whatsoever. So again, without that 6, I have much more scope to run into. So it's again, that communication between 6 and the full back line is huge.
And then just the last one on the defence, Porrick O'Hora, he's someone that I would say he's very defensively, instincts are on point. And last year he really shown that. You have him as a backup.
Yeah, again, it's not... it's just personal preference. I suppose I'd have a bit of a soft spot for Enda Hessian. He's obviously from the club at home, from my own club at home. He's about 20 years of age. I again for the league, I definitely give him a run out. So look, he's serious pace, good defensive instincts, a really good ball player. Look, it's a toss up really, to be quite honest with you. There's probably look at it when you look at that Mayo defence. The four definites really are Paddy Durkin, Stephen Cohen. You have Oisin Mullen, and you have
Lee Keegan.
Lee Keegan.
Yeah, they're the four, and then you have two kind of two so as in I'm not sure, and then you have obviously.
But both can make an impact off the bench as well.
Yeah, exactly, and it's the same in the forward line. You have four kind of definite starters there, and the two I'm kind of no one really knows. James doesn't even know that himself, I'd say.
In midfield, you've gone for Conor O'Shea and Matty Ruane as your starters, and your backups are Loftus and Flynn. So Conor O'Shea is ready for this, do you think?
I'd like to see him get a run out again, George. League format. I'd like to see him get a few games in the league. I think, again, another guy that's been heavily criticised throughout his career. And again, I'd like to see him kind of block out the noise. And I've obviously played with him. He's physically very, very strong. He's all ball skills in the world, left and right. I just think he'd be a very good link between from defence into attack, transitioning that ball quicker. I think he kicks the ball a lot more instead of just getting the head down and solar, and his instinct is to kick it straight off. And I think he's usually a half forward or full forward. As a midfielder, you can kind of grow into the game a bit more. You get on a bit more ball without someone up your arse all the time. So I think he'd be able to grow into the game, and I think he's definitely I'd definitely give him a few games there in midfield and see how he gets on.
All right, and then Robbie Henley and Rory Byrne are the keepers. I think that's fairly obvious at this stage.
With Robbie, look, it's. I suppose we've been blessed down through the years with good keepers. Obviously, Clark is stepping away, but Robbie will probably hold that spot now for the next year or two until, I don't know, Rory's there, obviously. I don't know who the third choice keeper, I'm not even too sure, Ger, who it is in Mayo at this moment in time.
All right, and we leave it there. Great stuff. Thanks a million. Plenty of food for thought.
No, that's a jerk. Cheers, mate.
Enda Varley there giving us his thoughts on that. OTB AM brought to you by Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette. Put your best face forward with their new and improved razors. It is an embarrassment of riches, Ash, like most counties. We're like, that person would be a sub on. I don't think so.
I know. And I asked him a harsh question there about Porrick O'Hara, but I just thought he was brilliant last year. But I think the difference with Mayo this year, hopefully, if the bench can really provide, because we've seen it's a 20-person game now,
Yeah.
So hopefully that can really have a big impact for them.
Yeah, some counties are even faking head injuries to make it a 21-person game.